Thank you for listening today on Revealing Wholeness, sponsored by Infinity Whole Health. Check out our website at infinityWholeHealth.com, where we are revealing the eternal in each individual, the infinite in the individual. The creativity is made manifest. Limitation is let go. Now, here's your host, Dr. Troy Munson.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy Munson. 2 Wednesdays ago, we discussed just allergies in general, pollen, ragweed, things like that. How does an allergy happen and what can I do to help? Now, I'm not going to go deep into foods because, there's books and books written on food allergies. And even in my own journey of health, I've watched my body react to certain foods and other foods seem to be okay. And then clients, like just today, I had a client in that they had knee pain and I thought, well, I just worked on you. What's going on? And so I quizzed her a little bit and found out that she was a certain blood type that doesn't handle chicken well. And so when we delved into it, she'd been eating a lot more chicken and she loves chicken. And I said, well, I know you might love it. And we tend to be attracted to the foods that we're allergic to, which we'll talk about more in just a moment. But let's find out if it really is chicken. And so her and I devised a plan that we'll go over tonight about how do we really kind of get a better understanding of what my possible food allergies are. Once you have that understanding and knowledge, now you have the ability to decide what you're going to do, and can we do that food in a little bit better way? So we're going to talk about all of that. How do we even know that certain blood types may have food allergies? How did they even determine it? We're going to talk about that as well. So I kind of did a poll of what comes to mind when my clients think of food allergies or allergies in general or something like that where they would have an intolerance even. And so they mentioned things like this, that what about celiac disease? Is that part of it? Shellfish allergy, like a throat closing up, which is kind of an anaphylactic shock kind of thing. A gluten intolerance, a nut allergy, stomach troubles. All these things they were kind of thinking, this is probably what it means to have a food allergy, which is somewhat true, but let's define things right from the get-go so that we know what we're talking about. If we have a complete food intolerance, like if I eat shellfish, I literally, my throat closes up, my face, gets all puffy, my body gets puffy, and I can't breathe. And now, things are getting scary. That's an actual intolerance to a protein within that food. And that's kind of a massive response. And you'll hear these words as you kind of research food allergies of lectins. And lectins are different types of proteins that our body tends to be very reactive to. And there's different types of them. There's many, many different types of lectins. So each food has their own variety, if you will. So some people react to legumes. Some people react to chicken. Some people react to meat. Some people will react to nuts, peanuts, all that. And so we're going to go over what we call the big four and then the lesser four of the food allergies. So we're going to talk the major 8 that you may likely be allergic to. So you don't have to just kind of hunt them down. One of these 8s may be very common for you. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. But I want to kind of throw some symptoms at you. What if you had, let's say, like bloating and gas? You're farting a lot. Well, can be a food allergy. And you think, well, I thought it was just, lack of, some type of enzyme in my food or BINO or whatever. Well, it can be, but it's likely more of a food allergy that your body's reacting to. And so you're producing gas in your intestinal tract that isn't fun. And if we go a little further and it gets a little worse, you might have irritable bowel syndrome. So those of you out there thinking my Crohn's disease or my irritable bowel syndrome or, my frequent diarrhea or constipation may be a food allergy, it may be. And so these are things to begin to look at. Next is, what if you had achy joints and muscles? Much like the gal I mentioned earlier that had knee pain. You mean my shoulder pain that I don't know why it's there, or my low back pain that I don't know what I did, or my big toe pain, or my sore, stiff hands in the morning? You mean that might be a food allergy? It very well Could be a food allergy. So might it be interesting to you to find out what it might be? Well, yeah. What if you eliminated that food and all of a sudden your bowels got better and your hands got better, your elbow got better, your knee got better? Would it be worth it to you? We're going to talk about those things too so that we can kind of figure out, okay, but I really love that food. I don't want to stop eating it. We're going to talk about things you can do there too. So hang in there. What if you had a spouse who was moody? Could be male, female. Doesn't matter. But let's say you notice you're more moody. I'm just angry, or I'm crying more easily, or whatever it is. Can be a food allergy. And you're like, wow, this is getting pretty serious. So what if you had skin eruptions, like if you're out there and you have acne, you're a young kid, or you're an adult, you realize your skin is not so good anymore. It could be a food allergy, and it's probably likely a food allergy. I'm just going to give you a spoiler. And so your skin could be a big window into what you're dealing with, and that your body doesn't particularly like it. And then last is, what if I'm tired and fatigued? You mean like 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I want to crawl under my desk at work and take a nap, or pull over to the side of the road because I'm a driver and I want to take a nap? Or I'm teaching kids because I'm a teacher and I'm exhausted in the afternoon and I just wish this day would be over? Could be a food allergy. So if you notice when you eat you get tired, it's probably very much a food allergy. So we're going to talk about those things. So first and foremost, let's talk about those big 8. So the first 4 is wheat, soy, milk, and corn. Those are the biggies. So most people are going to find are going to have a problem with those big 4. Now, as we get into this, I want to also make sure that we dispel fear. And so I want to come back to that in just a moment, but I want you to remember that if there's starting to become fear in your mind, like, okay, now you're going to tell me I can't eat anything. And that begets a lot of fear, and I don't want to do that, but I want to at least go through the next 4, and then we're going to get to fear so that we at least discuss that. The lesser 4 are beef, tomatoes, peanuts, and chocolate. Okay? So there's the big 4. Wheat or gluten, corn, soy, and milk. Those are the big 4. Then we've got beef, tomato, peanuts, and chocolate. Peanuts are a big one. Peanuts have a lot of molds and things that our body tends to respond to unfavorably. We're going to talk a little bit about each one of these so that we kind of lay out why. And you've heard me talk on other lives about gluten. And I want to reiterate it here. Gluten or wheat, before 1973, the old wheat would be 9 feet tall. It would grow. And here in Washington State where I am, we'd have fields of wheat. And the wind would come and it would blow all that 9-foot wheat down and it would ruin crops and it would be irritating to the farmers, of course. But so what they decided to do is say, hey, with some kind of fancy husbandry stuff, let's see if we can modify the gene of these wheat plants and let's see if we can grow them shorter. And so now the wheat, you drive by the wheat fields in eastern Washington, you see they're not that tall. Like 4 feet. Well, yeah, they're about 4 feet tall. And what happened is when we hybridized that wheat, we now had a substance called gliadin come in because of that modification to the gene. And that modification, it isn't that gluten was so bad for us, it was more that gliadin. Gliadin came in. And so gliadin is a form of gluten that our body doesn't handle real well because it's brand spanking new to us. The old wheat had gluten, but gliadin, this new form of gluten, was really hard on our gut. It's much like having an almond or a walnut fall to the ground, and within that case of that nut, there's a lot of phytic acids. Those phytic acids are very intolerable to bugs that would like to eat the flesh of that seed called an almond or a walnut. Well, when we eat a walnut or an almond, we taste kind of almost a bitterness. But if you were to soak those seeds in water for 24 hours with sea salt, they would expand, take on that sea salt, and ferment. Not sprout, but ferment. And that fermentation process over a 24-hour period on our counter at home, we then wash the nuts and then dry them on racks at about 150 and 120 degrees. We don't want to do it too high because of the oils. We don't want to damage the oils. But in that fermentation process, we now denature all those phytic acids. And so now those nuts and seeds that used to be maybe problematic for us to eat as a food allergy now are easier. And so some of the things that we eat food-wise are certain things in them that we can actually kind of get around if we do the right things. So if you like some certain nuts and seeds, I would recommend first trying out fermenting them. So like peanuts, you can get fresh peanuts. I have a little container of them in my house right now. They taste different than, of course, the roasted salted ones. They taste a little bit more bitter. I've been tempted to actually go ahead and ferment them and see how they do. In fact, I'll experiment and I'll let you all know. But most of the nuts and seeds that I eat, we ferment because I eat a lot of them. I'm always trying to get good proteins into my body that are quick and easy. And, you can't just stop at work and go out the back of your office and have a grill and cook a steak. It just doesn't work that well. I suppose we could take more time out as a society and change, but many of us are not willing to do that. So we got to try to find where we're going to get these quick and easy protein sources that our body is really looking for repair and healing and all the things that we need, as well as balancing blood sugar. So that's my take on protein, but on quick snacks that we're looking for. So wheat, corn. Corn is impressive. There is so much genetically modified corn out there, and most of it is yellow corn. And the interesting thing is, even before corn was modified, it tends to be a neural toxin. What does that mean? It means it messes with our brain. And so the brain itself, it's very sensitive to the proteins or certain proteins and lectins that are in corn, and it tends to cause problems. In the most extreme examples, we'll find epilepsy. We'll find tics, where people have issues that way. We'll find it in migraines. So we can see corn as a big irritant neurologically. Sometimes we'll have clients that will have episodes of epilepsy, grand mal and petit mal, remove corn completely from their diet, which, by the way, is no small feat. Think about it this way. Where is corn? Everywhere. Where is corn oil? Everywhere. You could look in your ingredients of a food that doesn't have corn in it, but you'll see corn oil. Well, you go and eat a steak from, a restaurant. What did they feed that cow? Corn. So the proteins are even infesting the meat. We don't realize how far reaching corn can be. And yet, is it messing up a lot of our thinking neurologically? Can be. So corn is a biggie. I know from personal experience, I had some corn tortillas. They were not organic. They tasted so yummy, by the way. But the next day I felt a low-grade headache all day, kind of out of it. And, I put up with it. Do some enzymes. I'll do some things, try and help. And by the end of the day, I felt pretty good. But you know what? I think I'll just avoid the corn, or at least make sure I go with organic, and I have to do a lot less than what I'm doing. So soy, do I need to say much about soy? I mean, just the simple fact that it has a lot of estrogens. Yes, you can ferment it and try to denature those estrogens, but ultimately soybeans aren't necessarily the best thing for us. They're very, very allergic. You can go with an organic soy, and that's probably better, but there's like over 8,000 different types of soybeans out there. It's crazy. They'll taste like anything and everything, and they can use them for a lot of stuff. I think the new vegetarian McDonald's burger or something is soy-based. I'm like, do we need more of that in our diet? Probably not. So some of you have taken products like soybean lecithin. Well, that's a misnomer. It's not from the bean. It's from the green of the plant. All green plants have lecithin. But soybean lecithin is the easiest to get to, and that's why you'll see it in a lot of products. If you're taking lecithin for like fat emulsification or cholesterol management, things like that, people will take lecithin. And it's fine to take. I do recommend that you know the company you're getting it from so that you know that it's organic. That would be wise. So the last is milk. Milk we've talked about at length. And ultimately, milk is technically a great food. Like y'all will see on all the commercials, milk does a body good. Well, yes and no. Depends on